Hello, it's Monster Forge again, and I'm here with one of my favorite toys that I didn't have when I was a kid, but I wanted it. And later on, I managed to trade somebody something for this, and I will forever be thankful for that trade. What I'm talking about is the Super GoBot Cycle. This is a toy that I wanted so bad when I was a kid, but I never got him. I'm gonna do a little bit of backstory on this. Um, Tonka released the GoBots back in the mid 80s, or early to mid 80s. And they were kind of like, I think they beat the Transformers to the market for the transforming robot toys. But I absolutely loved the GoBots. When I was growing up, we had kind of limited means, and so I had a lot more GoBots than Transformers. And they're, they were cheaper, they were easier to find, I found. And another thing was they were tiny. This guy's not really tiny, but he's a super GoBot. He would be released later on, and they were based on, well, some of the Super GoBots were based on their smaller versions. Now, the only Cycle that I have from the original GoBots line is one that's in really, really, really bad shape. Finding one of these guys in good shape anymore is not that easy. But this is Cycle, and he is like he can barely stand. One good thing about the Tonka GoBots kind of worked against them as well. They were die-cast metal, which was another added bonus to the value of these little guys. But it often left them very floppy later on, because those die cast, those joints, the plastic with the die cast, it just kind of wears out the plastic, and they almost always, when you find them, they're floppy unless somebody just didn't move them much at all. But a well-loved GoBot from back in the day is usually pretty floppy now. And you can see this guy's got busted, like his handlebar is busted on his shoulder. I don't have his engine block. I don't have his tires. I don't have the bars that held the tires in place. But this is as close as I have to original Cycle. But this was the original GoBot line, was this size. And so whenever they released the Super GoBots, like these things, to me as a kid, they were the hugest things that were ever made. Like, that little kid brain working there thinking, wow, what an amazing, massive robot. And really, he's a good, hefty robot, but if you compare him to like modern Transformers, he's not super huge. He's let's see. I never have my tape measure right when I need. Oh, here it is. Here it is, right here. He stands like the original GoBots. They stood about just a little over 3 inches, or right around 3 inches, actually. The Super GoBots, some of them, like Cycle here, that's 5.5 inches. So roughly the same height as a Masters of the Universe figure. But it's almost identical to the original. The transformation is certainly very similar, but there's a couple of things. One thing is the original Cycle, you're lucky if you find him with all his parts. And you see in this case, I'm just lucky to have him in one piece. But he came with an engine block, 2 tires, and bars for each one of the tires, which was like a metal rod. And they would fit into the shoulders here. And then when he turned into the motorcycle, it was a real simple transformation. You just bend his knees and you'd stick the engine block right here. You'd stick the tire between the hands and between the feet, and you had a motorcycle. Very simple, but because it was, several parts were used in making him into the motorcycle, you'd lose those if you were a kid and you weren't very careful. And you know, I was a typical kid. I played with them till they fell apart. But one of the appeals of the Super Go Box version of Psykill is the fact that all of his stuff is attached to him. It's a good thing and a bad thing because it makes him a little back heavy. Yeah, so if you're not careful, and like this table has a yeah, has a slope to it, and so he'll fall over backwards if I'm not careful. So my shelves are more level, and so I have to kind of lean him a little bit forward. But on this desk, he's just going to fall back over. But anyway, let's take a look at him. This one is in outstanding shape. I've seen some of these in really, really bad shape. And I got this figure from my buddy Keith. We used to be part of the October Toys Forum back in the day. And we still do a lot of trading and just sending each other figures and stuff. We send each other care packages with all kind of figures and other cheap crap we find. And so it's always fun to get a package from him, and I hope he has fun getting packages from me. But anyway, this one's in fantastic shape. The joints are, he's got good clicky joints, and they're really tight. Like they're good, and there's a little bit of looseness at the knees, but that was always the case with this figure. I can remember I played with another kids on the playground one time when I was a kid, and the knees weren't as strong because this thing is like the chest, the head, the whole torso is die cast, and it's a huge chunk of die cast metal, so it's got some weight to it. But anyway, you know, this one still has good paint. It's never been repainted or anything like that. The chrome face looks great. I always loved the faces on the GoBots. They had a lot of, I don't know, there's just something about them I loved. He's got the clear little dome that's the headlight of the motorcycle. This one, the only thing that's wrong with this one is one of the handlebars is broken. The other one's fine, but this one's broken, but I don't care. Battle damage. Blah. Blah. You know. But, yeah, articulation wise, his arms rotate fully around. He can, move his arms in and out. It's not really articulation, but, you know. His legs come forward this far. They don't go back any further than there because this thing stops it from going back anymore. If that wasn't there, his legs would keep going back. His knees, he has clickety joints. All of his joints are clicky. And the springs in them are still good because they still click really well. To transform this guy, it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy, but first of all, what you want to do is get his arms straight up like this, and then the engine block back here will pull away from the body, and you can pull these parts down like this, and then flip it all the way around. Probably have to do that. Yep, flip it all the way around, and you'll push the engine block back in. You'll then, yeah, that's right. You push this arm up towards the face and out, and he'll grab the little axle there, and the back, you bring the wheel back and rotate the legs forward, and nothing really like tabs into place. It just kind of sits in place, but it holds really well. And there's Psykill, and he rolls really, really well. He's got rubber tires. Never noticed a little smudge of paint on there. Oh well, don't battle damage. He rolls really well. You can hear that thing. Yeah, but he's got rubber tires. It's got tread sculpted onto it. He's got cool, like, I don't know if you can see it very well. There's like circuitry inside of the dome there on the back of his head. He's got a translucent plastic light in the front. But But it's just such a cool toy, and it just feels good in your hand. It's nice and weighty, and it just, you know, you can zoom it all around. And but he would have benefited from a kickstand because he falls over. But I mean, you can kind of get him propped up like that. But you know, maybe he can ride on him. Not really, because his legs aren't posable enough to ride on it. But yeah, that's the Tonka Super GoBot Cycle. Such a cool toy. I like going back in time, you know, to when toys were a lot simpler, and, you know, they were still just a lot of fun. You had to use your imagination a lot when you were playing with these toys. But I wouldn't trade a thing for this. This is still, to this day, is one of my favorite toys, and I'm very glad to have it. And, you know, if you're fortunate enough to find one of these guys, add it to your collection. All of the Super GoBots were really cool. They were good. They felt good in your hand. They were nice and chunky. You had die-cast metal. Just a cool toy. And I think he's awesome.